Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and we are going to be starting a new build here. This should be a quick one. I'm basically doing this while I'm waiting for the finishing process on another rocket. This is the Mini Mean Machine. It's a long but narrow rocket. There we go, there's the rest of it. This is a scaled down version of another one that I happen to have already made called the Mean Machine, which is kind of a classic. It is, I don't know, about 7 feet tall, and it flies on 24 millimeter motors, so C11s, Ds, and Es. This one, on the other hand, is going to fly on 13 millimeter motors, and it's apparently about a little over 3 feet long, so it is significantly smaller. This is not a complex build, which is why it should go pretty quickly. Only a couple of videos, one would think. The main benefit here is that, two, I guess. One is that the rocket's only going to go up about 200 feet on a good day. So you can fly this pretty much anywhere. You could probably fly this in a backyard if you really wanted to, although I wouldn't recommend that. The other thing is that mini motors, 13 millimeter Estes motors, are quite inexpensive, especially compared to 24 millimeter motors. So you can fly this a lot on a budget, which would be nice. All right, so let's dive right in. There's not a whole lot to this kit. There are two fairly lengthy body tubes. I've already taken the one out and marked it for where the fins are going to go. So that we don't need for the time being. What we do need to do quickly is handle the fins. So as per usual, grab myself some old newspaper here, and I'm going to grab my sanding block, and I'm going to sand these down quickly. Ooh, wow, that's not what I expected to happen at all. But yeah, that wasn't on very well, I guess. Anyway, try not to do that. But the goal here is to smooth these out to a reasonable degree. We're never going to get the grain to go away just by sanding it like this. I mean, I guess you could, but you'd be at it for a very long time, and you probably would do more harm than good. It's what the end process sanding is going to be for. Now, since I snapped this out, I need to be really careful that when I'm sanding here, I don't kind of like run the block into that edge, because that's the leading edge of that fin. I really don't want to deform it or snap it or anything, so I'm going to be extra gentle sanding around that. Kind of avoid it, honestly. Okay. And finishing things up here quickly. Okay. All right. Now, again, this is smoother than, actually, this sheet of balsa is actually pretty nice. It's pretty smooth to begin with. But that's as much as we're going to get done here, at least for now. I am going to then grab my hobby knife and cut through, there we go, cut through the burrs that are holding laser cut fin in place. And that was apparently enough for that one. Looks like there's a total of 4 on each of these, 2 diagonals and 2 verticals. The vertical ones, they're easy, but do be careful with the diagonal ones. They tend to be a little bit more difficult to cut through, and don't force things. Take multiple passes if you need to, or even flip the card or the sheet of balsa over. Try it from the other side. All right, that's easy enough. Get rid of my balsa scrap. Grab my newsprint again, and I'm going to grab a big piece of sandpaper this time, and I'm going to get rid of the burrs. Remember, there are only 4 of them apparently. I could actually probably forego this because my plan here is I'm going to round the front and the back, but I'm just, as a matter of principle, going to try to get rid of those burrs. Goal is to go from dark color to light color, and that should be enough to get rid of whatever burrs you had. This sandpaper is still pretty fresh, so seems like 5 passes is more than enough to get rid of it. This is the root head or edge here. This is what's going to be glued to the rocket. There aren't any burrs on it, which is nice. But I'm just going to sand it anyway, just to make sure it's all uniform. All right, that's lovely. Those are taken care of. I don't need my big sandpaper anymore, but I am going to round the fins. Now, you could certainly go all out on this and airfoil them if you really, really wanted to. But this is, I mean, it's a fairly aerodynamic rocket, and it definitely would benefit because it's not going to go very high if we took a lot of effort into getting maximum aerodynamics out of this, but it's probably not worth it. So I'm going to round the fins like so. Around 10 passes on each side. I think it's probably a good place to start. And then we'll check out my handiwork. Recently, I have been having a hard time getting the middle here, and it looks like the middle's not bad on this one, but this side was a little less rounded than the other side. And I'm just going to take a peek down here. It's still kind of true up here. Isn't quite enough. All right, that looks decent. And what I am going to do, though, is I'm just going to kind of lightly sand there because there were some like wood fibers that got removed and were kind of like frayed, sticking out. We certainly don't want that. All right, so leading edge is fine. I'm going to do the same thing for the rear, for the tail edge of this too. Sanding the leading edge is more important, but the tail edge is not something you should neglect either. It does affect the overall aerodynamics of it. And if you just do the front, you're not going to get the full benefit. Now, this has, looks like the middle of this didn't sand particularly well, which happens from time to time. So a few extra sanding passes should probably do the trick. And it looks like there's kind of a rough edge on this side still. So we'll gently do something about that. All right, overall looks pretty good. Again, I'm just gonna gently sand the edge here because there was some kind of frayed gobbledygook. The top. So I have not seen conclusive evidence one way or the other that you need to do anything about the top, but I'm just going to do the top too. Since I've done the front and the back, might as well do the top too, right? The top is a little weird because you've already shaped some of the sides, so it gets kind of to a point sometimes, which isn't exactly what you want. Now, I've over sanded, it looks like, on the left side, and then the right side is a little pointed, so I don't like that. Anyway, you've done 2 sides. Doesn't hurt to do the third. Kind of looks better, I think. The only thing you absolutely should not do is put a rounding edge on the root that's going to get glued onto the tube, because that would make it way harder to attach. It would make the joint much, much weaker, so don't do that. All right, so at some point, like not now because you don't need to watch another 10 minutes of me sanding fins, I will get around to repeating the process for the other 3 fins. I think the last thing that I'm going to attempt today in this particular video is I'm going to put together the motor mount. Here's a nose cone. Since that's out anyway, we will quickly remove the plastic, this part right here, from the nose cone. Do yourself a favor, cut away from your hand, and if it takes multiple passes, it takes multiple passes. In the theory too, you should not cut toward the thick part here that's going to hold together where the knot goes of the shock cord. But I'd rather not chop my hand because that's not fun. Been there, done that. Not worth repeating. So I'm going to put the plastic at risk rather than my fingers. All right. Same deal over here. I need to just cut all 4 sides. Okay, so my knife is a little bit caught here. I don't really want that to be. Getting it caught is where the danger comes in because it tends to slip when it releases, and whatever it releases toward is in danger. Now that could be, I could break through the eyelet here, which would kind of wreck the nose cone, or it could go toward my hand, which could wreck my hand, which I like my hand. I don't need it wrecked. All right, so there's a little bit of plastic that's out. There's a little bit of kind of plastic fray here, so I'm just going to shave that off. That looks pretty good. All right. So away goes the hobby knife. That's not going to be needed for quite some time, one would think. So I'm going to actually put that back in the big old bag. This, on the other hand, has all the pieces we need to build the motor mount. And some other things too, looks like. Well, it's like a crinkle in this, making it difficult to cut. That's annoying. All right, Estes safety, important. Yeah, we read that later. Hopefully you have read it at some point. This is motor mount. This is not. This is not either. That's part of the motor mount. That's part of the motor mount. Parachute, nope. I need this yellow ring in here, though. That's another one I need. And there's the other green one. Okay, so in here I've got launch lugs still. Need that. I need the hook. This and this. Let's just pack up and throw back in there for later use. Okay, now motor mounts. I mean, if you build a rocket, you've probably built one of these, and in general, they are very similar, but they always have a little like nuance to them, so it's important to follow the instructions. Let's start off here with doing some measurement. Okay, so on this, I need to mark off 3 things. Let's try with my little finger. All right, so I need to mark off 3/8 of an inch. That's here. I need to mark off 1 1/2 inches. That's there. And I guess that's it, actually. So 2 spots. I'm gonna put a down arrow to indicate that's where the engine's gonna go. So I'm gonna need that later. The other thing I need to do is I need to take one of these and I need to chop a small section out, 1/8 of an inch, little bit. And this is, sometimes we get these things, they've been already pre-cut, but the idea is it needs to be wide enough to let the engine hook go through. So the easiest way to do this is just to make a cut like so. And do you want to measure it? I mean, you can certainly measure it, but it doesn't really hurt if you make this too big. If it's too small, again, it doesn't really hurt. You're just going to need to cut it, make it wider so that the engine hook can go through. So I'm going to kind of eyeball this like so. Okay. And yeah, that looks about right. And it's not a perfectly straight cut, but that doesn't really matter either. The only real thing that we needed to do was just make a hole so that the engine hook could go through. Incidentally, while I have my knife, I need to cut at this second mark, and this is where the engine hook's going to go in. So I'm just going to trace it a couple times, and I think my blade is actually notched right at the tip. That's kind of annoying. I'm probably going to have to replace it. There we go. So there is the cut. That's going to be where The hook goes in fact, the hook goes in. That's the next step. Okay. All right. Um, the next things we need to do, so the cut one is going to go here at that mark, the other mark that I made. But this one actually, because it's cut, it doesn't hold its shape anymore. So I'm actually gonna have to hold this together, um, like with my hand, and that's gonna be kind of annoying. So I'm not actually going to do this one first. I'm gonna put this off for a little bit. I'm gonna do the other things that need to be done. So this, I'm not entirely sure what this is made out of, nylon maybe. This clear ring I'm gonna put on, but just kind of like halfway down, like so, just to hold it in place so I know where it goes. This yellow block is going to go inside here, and oh, I didn't mean to actually like get it stuck in place. That's kind of annoying. Well, that's fine. Easy fix. Just push it out. All right. Anyway, that's going to go. I mean, in theory, it could go right at the end, but it's really going to reinforce the far end of the hook. So it's going to go inside, and it's going to protect or assist in protecting the hook to keep the motor in place. So this is too narrow for me to really get my glue bottle in and see what I'm doing. So I'm going to use a dowel, and apparently my glue is going to be clogged. That's fun too. There we go. This shouldn't take very much glue. Like, that's more than enough, one would think. All right, a little bit of glue, and it doesn't really matter just so long as it is inside the tube and not past the metal hook. Well, you're not getting a dowel past the metal hook anyway, so that shouldn't be much of an issue. All right, in goes the yellow bit, and I mean, I can't really push this thing because, well, I don't have anything to push it with that would be the right size. So, I can use pencil to kind of push it in place a little bit, and it's not all the way down to where the hook is, but yeah, there we go. I can make a little bit of progress. All right, there. I pushed it down. That should be good enough. It's in the glue. All right, the other two pieces. This one we already talked about. This one is going to go right at the end. So I'm going to slide it onto the back end here. And so one of the downsides to 13 millimeter mounts, I gave you some advantages. You can fly them pretty much anywhere, and they're cheap. The downside is I tend to get motors stuck in these things, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it might have something to do with the motor construction itself. Like, they tend to expand a little bit more just because they're smaller. I don't know. It might be the fact that the tubes are easier to deform. I don't know either. By the way, that was how I was going to line it up. Hopefully you saw that. I just pushed it down all the way and let the table here be my guide. Yes, it makes a little bit of a glue mess, so clean that up quickly. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know. Some of these I just get motors stuck in them, which is annoying. It's a reason why I have a pair of pliers in my range box to pull them out. But honestly, like, if they get stuck, part of it is things expand when they get hot. So just be patient and, maybe give it 6 hours. When everything is stone cold, you should have an easier time removing it. Or get a pair of pliers. That'll work too. All right, so I'm going to put the last bit of glue on here. The problem with cutting these is that it's going to want to pull apart, right? Because it's no longer a ring, right? It's going to want to pull itself apart away from the cut. So you're actually going to have to hold it in place for a while, unfortunately, in order for the glue to totally set, which is annoying, but it's also kind of unavoidable. Do you need to put a lot of pressure on it? No, not really. Like, I'm not really squeezing it, I'm just kind of holding it right now, and that should probably be adequate. In fact, while I'm holding it, I'm going to add some more glue over here, and then I'm going to slide that clear ring down into place as well. And clean up the mess a little bit. Okay. Again, I don't trust this yet to just let it go, because I'm pretty confident when I let it go, it's just going to pop apart like it wants to, since it's no longer being held together. But it shouldn't take too much longer for the glue to set enough. While it's doing that, I think the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a quick little fillet at the bottom. This, and I could probably start anyway putting the fillet on the top. But I just want to maintain some pressure up there while I'm fiddling about with this. Obviously, I can't fillet this end because that's the end. There's only one place to put the glue in. I don't think I'm going to fillet this side either, because the clear bit pushed glue down, and there's a decent amount of glue in there anyway, so we'll call that a fillet. And the last thing I'm going to do is just put a quick fillet around the other end of this thing. Hopefully that'll help with keeping the ring in place as well. Okay. I've kind of let up a couple times on my pressure here, and it doesn't look like the ring is shifted at all. So that's probably good. I don't think I need to be holding this any longer. If I'm really concerned about it though, like don't use a clamp because you'll just end up squishing things, but you could put some mildly, like maybe the sanding block just like on top of it to hold it together. I don't think I'm going to bother with that. This feels pretty good. All right, so yeah, that's it. Motor mount built. That's going to go inside of one of my body tubes there. If you haven't already at this point, it would be a great time to go put the marks for where the fins are going to go on one of the body tubes. And I'm going to then sand these before the next video. But that's it for now. And I will see you in that next video.